What's up everyone, so we're going to be doing a 50 card deck profile here for Pendulums. This is particularly just focusing on Endymion, so if you guys came here hoping to see a Guard Dragon build, then I'm sorry to disappoint you guys, but I have no interest in that particular build. I gave it a go on Yugioh Pro, it's just not my type of thing here. However, I do have a friend who's actually playing that particular deck, so maybe I could feature him on this channel if he's actually willing to. But with that being said, let's just get on with this particular deck profile. I went with 50 cards because my friend's deck was actually 60 cards, and I realized, you know what, it's pretty difficult to actually make a 40 card deck, so especially with Pendulums here. So in this particular case, we're going to be playing 50 cards because I think it's just perfect as is. It doesn't really affect the consistency, and I will be doing test hands for this to demonstrate what you can actually do. But starting off, we are playing 3 copies of Endymion, the Mighty Master of Magic. He's definitely one of the greatest cards, obviously, in this deck, being able to negate spells and traps just by bouncing one of your cards that actually has a spell counter on it, and then transferring it to himself. So definitely a really good card, and even if he just has a spell counter and he's somehow destroyed by battle, you just add any normal spell from your deck to your hand. So that's just a really amazing card to help with both recovery, with both attack. The level is also level 7, which is very amazing. It's a dark, and it's also a scale 8, which allows you to even go for pendulum summoning really easily as well. So 3 of him, definitely well worth it. We're also going to be playing 3 copies of Servant of Endymion. I think this card is definitely one of the mandatory cards you have to play as a support to Endymion himself. So 3 copies of this, I would not recommend you play any less. Now, I've decided to actually drop the copies of Magister of Endymion down to 2. I figure he was actually becoming too much of a problem here, too much of a dead card in my particular hand, and although his effect is pretty nice to bring back Endymion, or even your mythical beast from the extra deck zone or anything like that, he still just isn't as good as Servant, and as a result, I'm playing only 2 copies of him. That being said, he is still a scale 8, which is definitely still decent enough to actually allow you to go for your pendulum summons. And just for fun, I am playing 1 copy of Reflection of Endymion. This card is definitely a very interesting card indeed. Most people don't bother playing it. I play it because, firstly, it is an Endymion card, and I wanted to actually incorporate every single Endymion card here. That being said, I only play 1 copy of it because it's not the best one. It being a scale 2, that's not really too relevant here. However, its effect special summons a spellcaster from your hand. As opposed to Servant and Magister, it is not the best effect. Not to mention, it can't be normal summoned that easily because you still have to tribute monsters. It's a level 7. However, being a level 7, it can go into really good XC summons, so definitely a card that I still put myself at least 1 copy of. For the mythical beasts, we're playing 2 copies of Cerberus, of course, and we are also playing 2 copies of Jackal. Obviously, these cards are definitely the really key cards of the deck, so they definitely do a lot of great jobs in actually negating, clearing the board, and just going for nice OTKs as well. So Master Cerberus is basically just a 1-card combo to just bring him out. Simply destroy himself in the scale, search for Jackal, activate Jackal, destroy himself to special summon Cerberus from the deck, from the extra deck. Usually you would do this just to get something on the board so that you could go for your Link summon into Electromite. But that being said, they definitely serve really well to do things here, especially Jackal King being able to negate monster effects. We're also playing the 1 Mythical Beast Garuda just to get rid of your opponent's spells and traps, so definitely has been working out really well. And I'm only playing 1 Basilisk as well. This, I think I used to play 3 copies of. I felt that it was definitely too much to actually play it because it was definitely a dead card in the hand. However, that being said, it is still a really great card to help you declog and also draw into your cards that you want as well. So if you're wondering, when I took out the 2 Basilisk, what did I actually add in? I actually decided to add in 2 copies of Jackal here. Jackal is definitely a really amazing card because this card allows you to also place spell counters on monsters. And being that he's also technically a spell card when he's played in the Pendulum Zone, you could definitely make the most out of your spell counters in this particular deck. And to end things off with monsters, we're playing 2 copies of Supreme King Dragon Darkworm, and of course 2 copies of Supreme King Gate Zero. I felt that the 2-and-2 ratio definitely worked well. Darkworm, only 2 copies is necessary here. We don't really play as a main engine, but of course it is still a very nice card to actually hopefully draw into, or maybe just ditch off to the graveyard. And Supreme King's Gate Zero, well, I'm playing 2 copies of it just in case one of it gets lost in Desires, so as a result I am playing this particular ratio of it. But overall I am pretty happy with this particular monster lineup, so let's move on to spells. Alright, so onto spells. We are going to be playing 2 copies of Magical Citadel of Endymion, and of course the 1 terraforming after the ban list. But yeah, I think this ratio is definitely still good. I keep it as is. I'd rather not play multiple copies of Citadel simply because your opponent's already going to have a hard time destroying it anyway, and even if they did have the option to destroy or remove a spell trap on the field, Citadel is probably not the one that they would really go for. They want to get rid of Servant or even Magister. That being said, I definitely like this because terraforming helps you get into them, and as a result you won't particularly always have dead cards in the hand. We're also playing 3 copies of Spell Power Mastery. Definitely a really great card to obviously search you off, get your things going, and also gets you bonuses if you also have more Spell Power Masteries or Spell Power Grasps in your hand. Speaking of Spell Power Grasp, we are playing 3 copies of them, simply because, again, you give more counters very easy. You could also search for another one, so you'll always have something ready. So it's definitely a really nice card just to add in to help facilitate your combo plays. Interestingly enough, I am playing 2 copies of Mythical Institution, definitely one of the most underrated cards ever. For Pendulums, no one really bothers playing this, however I think with Endymions this definitely works really amazingly, and together with the Mythical Beasts it's definitely quite a nice card to actually allow you to add so many different cards, because the Mythical Beast gets 2 counters every time you activate a spell, so you could really accelerate Mythical Institution and be able to do a lot of things. Keep in mind, Mythical Institution also activates or gains counters whenever one of your Mythical Beast Pendulum monster cards is actually destroyed by battle or card effects. So what this means is, since the Mythical Beasts focus on destroying themselves in the Pendulum Zones, when they do destroy themselves, you actually get counters on this. 2 counters per 1 destroyed, so definitely very nice to actually help you do things. But it's basically a way to search out anything from your deck, so quite amazing there. Definitely helps out a lot. We're also playing 2 copies of Mythical Bestiaria. Really amazing card, just place 2 spell counters on anything and also sends the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard, so definitely quite nice here. Instantly, if you play this with Servant or Magister on the board, or Reflection on the board, then they pretty much just get 3 counters right off the bat. So definitely a really nice card. I'm playing a brand new card here. This is Beast Magic Attack. I felt this card was definitely a really amazing card to actually try out. You could basically remove spell counters on your field from anywhere on the field really, and you get one of these effects based on which ones you actually, or how many you remove. So if it's 2, 4 or 6. However, the most important one is the one where you remove 4 spell counters, so you always keep that one in mind. But you could basically special summon a Mythical Beast Pendulum monster from your extra deck and then place 2 spell counters on it, instantly giving them the power to actually do things. So if you bring back Jackal King, then you pretty much get a free negate for the cost of just losing 4 spell counters from your field. So definitely a really nice card. For additional draw power, I am playing 1 Sacred Sword of 7 stars. We're also playing a Power of the Guardians. This card is basically allowing you to gain more spell counters. If you equip it to a monster, again, it's a spell card, so you're going to trigger off getting more counters. But at the same time, every time the monster attacks, then you get a spell counter on this particular card, and the equipped monster gains 500 attack for each counter on this card. If the equipped monster would be destroyed, you just remove a spell counter from anywhere on your field, and it protects the monster. Of course, we are playing the Mythical Beast engine in this particular deck, so I am playing 2 copies of Duelist Alliance. Basically, if you have a card in your Pendulum zone, you can add a Pendulum monster or Pendulum spell trap from your deck to your hand. I am actually going to be playing 2 copies here of Pendulum Paradox. So this card will be added by Duelist Alliance, and it definitely does a really amazing job. Because we're playing the Mythical Beast, we have a bunch of scale 4 units in the extra deck, and we also have a lot of scale 8s as scale 2s as well. So overall, it's basically add 2 face-up Pendulum monsters with the same scale but different names from your extra deck to your hand. So definitely a really nice card. Of course, because we were playing the Supreme Kings, we will be playing 2 copies of Dragon Shrine as well to get rid of Dark Worm to the graveyard so that you could actually start your plays off. For more draw power, we are playing 3 copies here of Pot of Desires. Definitely a really amazing card to actually allow you to actually just draw more cards. And honestly, we're playing 3 copies of so many cards here. I really don't care if we lose any copies of these. And that's one of the great things about this deck. Then we are playing Upstart Goblin, One Day of Peace, and of course Dormant Path. These cards are basically just cards that help facilitate your plays, but at the same time they definitely allow you to just gain more spell counters, and you could also add additional cards to your hand through Upstart and One Day of Peace, which totally makes the 50 card deck here. Now, you might be wondering, what about Called by the Grave? You could actually play that, because a lot of these plays require you to search. So if your opponent plays something like Drawn Lockbird or Ash, then you pretty much get stopped a lot. So as a result, I would definitely think it would be a good idea to play Called by the Grave. So if you're actually wondering, you could take out 1 Dormant Path, you could take the One Day of Peace out, and you could probably take out 1 copy of the Endymion, and you could throw in 3 copies of Called by the Grave, which would definitely facilitate your plays. So firstly, you get to negate one of your opponent's spells and traps, and at the same time, since Called by the Grave is a spell card, then you get more spell counters. So you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone here. Very nice indeed. So yeah. Alright, so onto the extra deck. You were thinking, well, why didn't I play Pot of Extravagance? Why did I play Desires? Well, our extra deck is actually pretty important, so overall, I didn't want to play Extravagance over Desires. We're playing the Heavy Metal Foes Electromite, definitely a very key card. It's at 1 for a reason, because it's just so good. So definitely playing that in the deck, and you definitely don't want to lose it. We're also playing Yugioh because it's very easy to go into this, very possible, a bit, kind of pushing it, you're kind of throwing away your resources, but overall, the fact that I somehow have the option to go into it is still very nice. Playing the 1 Beauregard Dragon, this is definitely very interesting because obviously you could bring back certain cards from the graveyard as well, so just trying this out. The other thing I like about this card mainly is actually the fact that it just can't be destroyed by card effects. So yeah, that's mainly the reason why I'm playing Beauregard. However, I still don't have Borrolo Dragon, so hopefully I can get that soon, because as soon as I get Borrolo Dragon, I'll put it in and take out the Beauregard Dragon. It's mostly because the link markers point really nicely, and it also can't be destroyed by card effects, and it has 3000 attack. We're playing 1 copy of Zephyr Metaltron, basically just a way to link climb with your monsters, allowing you to open up more zones to go into Pendulum summons from the extra deck and everything like that, so definitely quite nice. Normally you would go into it after you bring already used Electromite effect and everything like that. And to end things off for links, we're playing 1 Daybreaker, the Shining Magical Warrior, an easy link to go into a spellcaster monster. Definitely just does the job here, really amazing. And yeah, I'm just playing the 1 copy. It's not as good that you would play multiple copies of it or anything like that. However, that's pretty much it for the link monsters, so moving on to XCs. We're playing 1 copy of Tornado Dragon, obviously a nice utility card to allow you to do a lot of things. Abyss Dweller will be really relevant for this particular format. 1 Burguska to definitely slow down the opponent's plays. We're also playing 1 copy of the Phantom Knights of Breaksword. You have a bunch of level 3s in the deck. You could definitely go into this card to actually just get rid of one of your cards as well as one of your opponent's card. Definitely really nice. 1 Gaia Dragon. Red Eyes, Draco Sack, and Big Eye. all just really amazing rank 7s you could go for because you have level 7s. And then we're playing the Absolute Dragon, in which case he can actually bring out your Vortex if you link him away. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this deck. I know it's much longer than you might expect, however, I just had a few more things to explain, plus this is a 50 card deck obviously, so yeah, definitely give this a go and let me know how it goes. But in the meantime, I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you next time.